Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's session of Ask Zak with myself, Zak. And tonight we're looking at our piggeries and especially our piglet care and where things start. And when it comes down to piglets, something that we see in the market and what's happening a lot is people aren't preparing for their piglets. Now, most of the time you're going to ask, how do I prepare for my piglets? The hock is ready, everything is right. But we need to take in account, we need to prepare for them 2 weeks beforehand. And the reason for that is we start giving our sows pig lactation 2 weeks beforehand. The reason for that is we want that sow's stomach to be accustomed to the new feed and not change over all of a sudden when those piglets arrive. And of course, with the lactation, it's a higher protein, more nutrient dense feed, so that she can use more, because those little piglets in those last 2 weeks, they develop in the stomach and they take up more space. So what happens is the mother's stomach gets squished and gets smaller, so she can't take in larger quantities of feed as she usually did. So we want to get her there, and with that is we pushing her condition, we lifting her fat reserves, her body condition, just to make sure when those piglets arrive, she can start producing milk, because she needs enough nutrients to start producing milk. And that is what the lactation does, and that is why we start introducing it, of course, 2 weeks before farrowing. Another thing that we always say is, don't forget that iron injection within the first week. Usually in piggeries, especially commercial piggeries, because they can't go out in the ground in the earth and dig around and get iron in that way, they need you to supplement for them. So that is why we give them iron injection, to make sure they're not anemic and that their bodies can function properly. And of course, the next step, we're going to start preparing for weaning. And how do you prepare? And you start early. The big thing is you introduce a creep feed. Now, the reason for a creep feed is you want that little stomach to start developing for solids and not just milk. Remember, if we switch them over immediately when we wean them, that is a lot of shock on the animal's body, and you're going to have a fall in production, and it's going to take a while before that the production starts picking up. But when you start introducing a creep feed beforehand, that stomach starts to settle, to develop, get used to solids, and of course be ready for that day when they get weaned. And it's crucial for them to make sure that your animals grow properly. We know the pig market is under pressure. The prices aren't always there, so we need to make sure that those animals get the nutrients and get the head start that they need. Remember, one thing that is very important in this whole process is we can't expect an animal that cannot perform to perform when we give them the wrong feed. And there we come into, of course, afval, the vegetables and all those things you pick up at the vegetable store. Remember, those animals need the specific amount of protein, fat, fiber, all those things to get their system running. So that is why a lot of times we tell the people, try and stay away from it as far as possible. You are not aiming for the stars when you give offal to the animals, and you are actually just scraping by. Your animals are never going to perform and produce as they need. So if you need more information, there is so much more to talk about when it comes down to piggeries and pig care. But if you need information, contact your nearest Alzu one-stop shop. Contact your nearest technical advisor and get more info. Of course, a nice site to visit is our PIC RSA. That's our pig improvement company that gives a lot of information concerning genetics, feed and care when it comes down to our pigs. But get in contact. There's so much information out there for you to use and strengthen and empower you as a farmer. So up until next week, same time, same place, have a good evening. Goodbye.